Oh, it is most definitely time to get down to business. What's good, everybody? Welcome into the Early Edge and our weekly and our divisional playoff round props extravaganza with three of the greatest minds in the prop world today. And I got to tell you, we got absolute four bangers when it comes to the games we have this weekend. Now, the numbers are very, very efficient. It's very, very difficult. But when you have the best, when you have the sharpest, when you have the absolute crew members that you want, we're not scared at all. Let's bring in the stars of the show. You know them. You love them. We start with, ladies and gentlemen, I believe if we weren't on screen, we would all stand up for the newest Hall of Fame member. Ladies and gentlemen, Uncle Dave Richards, congratulations, sir. You're an HOFer. I thought it was amazing. How do you feel, Dave?
I feel the same as I always do. I don't feel any special for it just because I made it. And I'm surprised you even heard about it. Thank you. I appreciate it. But honestly, I sucked at my props last week. It's been eating at me for the last 6 freaking days. And I'm pissed off about it, Coach. I want to go undefeated again like I did a couple weeks back. I'm intending to do so this week. Big week, divisional playoffs. I'm ready. I don't care if I'm in the Hall of Poo. That's where I felt like I was in last week. Let's make it the Hall of Cash.
But that's how a Hall of Famer acts. He wants to be the absolute very best every single week. That's why you're in the HOF, baby. Now, next, he is the counselor of cash, Mr. Sia Nejad. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I am still on a high from our show at 10 a.m. with Chip Patterson, Buckets, and yourself. I see people in the chat talking about the patented shoulder shimmy, and I'm just happy that I've really made an impact on this audience. I'm ready to go.
It's amazing. 3 weeks ago, we were looking for a new nickname. Now you've got multiple nicknames. You've got your own dance that now people turned into a GIF today. They turned it into a GIF.
Yeah,
you're becoming a legend right before our very eyes. By the way, my man M Squared is in the chat live. You have any questions, shoot him in there. He'll answer them in real time. Now, finally, yesterday the prop shop was hopping because of our man, PropStarz. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Coach, Cousin Sia, Uncle Dave. Wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate my adopted Uncle Dave. What an honor to get to do this show with you, Dave. Couldn't think of a more deserving person to go into a Hall of Fame. I love the fact that you're still hungry and ready to get to work despite the incredible accolades, but all praise be to Uncle Dave.
Yesterday, Dave, he literally had a tear coming down his face. And he goes, I've been watching Dave for 37 years. All right, let's get
back
into
when
it.
I was, hold on, how old was I 37 years ago? Back when I was 9?
Oh, wow.
I don't think I was on the internet when I was 9.
Wow. Are you younger
There was
than
no
me?
internet
Are you
when you
younger
were
than
9,
me?
Dave.
You're younger than me, Dave?
I'm a 76 kid.
Wow. Interesting.
I'm not a kid either. I'm old as hell.
I feel it someday. I had a great work. I feel it today. I feel it. But guess what? It always feels better when we meet at the pay window, which is exactly what we're going to attempt to do. So let's jump right into it. Game number 1. And it's my beloved Kansas City Chiefs. Right here. Oh, it tastes so good. So the Chiefs are laying 9. This just continues to go up. I told you 2 days ago, if you don't jump on this number before it hits 10, that's on you. It's not on us. The total, 52.5. It's robust for a playoff game. Now, all 3 of my experts have picks in this game. So with all due respect to the counselor and the PropStarz, we're going to our brand new Hall of Famer first. Uncle Dave, what do you like in this game tomorrow?
I've got 2 props. I'm going to be a while, Coach. I apologize in advance. The first one, Juju Smith-Schuster's longest reception, under 20.5 yards at -113. He had a 28-yard catch against Las Vegas in his last game. He was under this total in 6 straight games before. And is he fading out of Kansas City's offense? In his past 3 games, his target per route run rate is 10.8%. That's terrible. He's had 9 targets. 2 of the 9 targets have been in the red zone where it is impossible. It is literally impossible to catch a pass for more than 20 yards when you're in the red zone. Here's the cherry on top, though. 112 of his 528 routes have gone 11 or more yards outfield. That means that almost 80% of his routes are close to the line of scrimmage. He's become almost like a short area target, a dump off guy to Patrick Mahomes. He's not challenging downfield like Kadarius Toney or Travis Kelce would. There are literally over 200 other NFL players with a higher rate of yards run downfield on a route than Juju Smith-Schuster. So he's already not getting a ton of targets. And even if he does, he's not allowed to make one of them count for more than 21 plus yards. So I'm taking the under on Juju. His longest catch will probably be somewhere around like 14 yards, something like that. The other one I like in this game is Zay Jones over 52.5 receiving yards, minus 104. This was at 54.5 with plus odds. It's changed all around. In 7 of 9 games when Trevor Lawrence has attempted at least 35 or more passes, this dude's gone over this mark. Actually, it's 8 of 9 because one of those games was 54 yards. So 8 of 9 games, almost every time Trevor Lawrence has gone over 35 pass attempts, Zay Jones has been involved because he has at least 8 targets in all 9 of the games where Trevor Lawrence has thrown at least 35 passes. And call me crazy, I think Trevor Lawrence probably going to need to throw 35 plus passes in this game against Kansas City. In fact, his total, I checked on this, his pass attempt total, 39.5. So the odds makers think he's going to throw a bunch too. He's an every down player who should get a chance to put up numbers. You're not asking for a lot for a receiver like Zay Jones to get 53 plus yards against the Kansas City Chiefs.
And we have seen a lot of quarterbacks through the playoffs so far. They go to the guy they trust. And this is a big-time game, and Trevor Lawrence trusts Zay Jones. Bang that over, and they're still going to get killed on the field. Now, Counselor, I'm coming to you next because you and Proppy, you're on the same guy. You're fading the same guy in different ways. Give me your 2 plays from this game.
Yeah, so we'll start on that side of the ball. I like Isaiah Pacheco's longest rush under 13.5 yards. I just don't think this is going to be a prolific game for Isaiah Pacheco. Part of the reason is because the Jags' rush defense is actually pretty solid. You attack them through the air. The other reason is Jerick McKinnon's going to get a lot of work. Now, if you look at his game log over the past 5 or 6 games, I'm referring to Jerick McKinnon, you're going to see only like a couple rush attempts here, a few rush attempts there, but it's the playoffs, right? So we got to go back to last year and look at his playoff game log, and we see he gets a lot more attention, not just in the passing game, but in the running game. So I expect Jerick McKinnon's carries to go up, and I expect Isaiah Pacheco's to go down. What does that mean for the longest rush against a good rush defense? That means the opportunity is limited. I see Isaiah Pacheco getting somewhere between 8 and 11 touches. Carries. And I think it's going to be closer to that 8 or 9 side. And I just don't think we're going to see him break for 14 yards or more. Against bad rush defenses, Pacheco does hit this number. We've seen it in the game logs. We've seen it in the production. But against good rush defenses, I just don't see it. And when you get the Jerick McKinnon uptick in rushing attempts and work in the backfield, I just think this is a good opportunity to fade Isaiah Pacheco. And this is how I'm choosing to fade it. On the other side of the ball, give me Trevor Lawrence. By the way, I love the Zay Jones play. I almost had Zay Jones over 4.5 receptions as one of my official plays. So, of course, I like the yardage as well. I like Trevor Lawrence over 1.5 touchdown passes at minus 118. This is a game script play more than anything. And if you look at Trevor Lawrence's matchups against bad defenses, against bad secondaries, that's when he flourishes. Against good secondaries, he tends to sputter a little bit. You might see 0 or 1 touchdown pass. But in this game script against this particular secondary, I think this is one of those opportunities where we're going to see Trevor Lawrence hit 2, maybe 3 touchdowns. And for the record, Kansas City, yes, they are a bad secondary, but they're particularly bad in the red zone as well. So I do think when we see an opportunity for Trevor Lawrence inside the 20, inside the 25, he's going to take advantage of it with his arm.
3 touchdowns, Sia, against my beloved Chiefs.
Let's go with 2.
No, you're probably right. I gotta be objective. Our defense sucks. Absolutely sucks. All right, Proppy, I'm coming to you because I said that you and Sia are on the same player, different prop. Talk to me.
Yeah, Coach. We're both on Isaiah Pacheco. I'm taking under 12.5 rushing attempts. I just think this is a big number for Pacheco. Sia mentioned he's being phased out of this Kansas City offense. The previous 2 games, he didn't even eclipse double-digit carries in either of those games. Had 8 carries and 9 carries versus Denver and versus Las Vegas. Sia also mentioned Jerick McKinnon. Looking back to last year's playoffs, he was the feature back for Kansas City, averaged roughly 100 scrimmage yards per game. In addition to 15 touches, he had double-digit carries in 2 of those games. We also know the Chiefs just don't like to run the ball. They're the most pass-heavy offense in the NFL. Come playoffs, I think they really trust McKinnon in that role of the feature back. We've just also seen how dynamic he is in the backfield. His ability to catch passes out of the backfield is such an asset to this Chiefs offense that can just fire on all cylinders when he is really working those routes underneath. So I really like fading Isaiah Pacheco in this spot under 12.5 rushing attempts. I really think he's going to cede a lot of work to Jerick McKinnon. Also love that Lawrence prop over 1.5 touchdowns. I fully endorse that. It may or may not have appeared in my article, which dropped this morning. Also wanted to add the Chiefs have given up more passing touchdowns than any team in the NFL this season.
Why you guys got to just rub it in? It's like you're adding, let's just tick coach off while I'm giving my take. That's what I feel like you all are doing today. That's what I feel like.
That's what I was doing.
I feel like I know you were. By the way, Sia, they're asking because you talked about the attempts. Would you like 38.5 or the completions 23.5? That's for Lawrence.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would probably go with, I like them both a little bit. I would go with the completions of 23.5. I don't love it enough to make it an official play, but I do like them both.
All right. Dave, let me come back to you because Travis Kelce, we've seen his numbers been pretty steady, 6.5, and then in between 70 and 80 yards all year. Do you like Kelce in this game?
I like him. I just have a hard time taking the over on the receptions prop. I saw it and it was 6.5. I feel like that's a competitive line that could go either way.
That's right. Probably let me come down to you. Do you like Mahomes to have a big game this week?
I do indeed. I think if you attack Jacksonville, you do it through the air. The Chiefs pass the ball more than any team in football. I think this sets up as a great matchup. I think Mahomes is going to air the ball out a lot. I actually like his touchdown prop over 2.5, which you can find around -110, -115 quite a bit.
All right. They're asking. Yeah, Dave, go.
I just wanted to point out that last year, 3 playoff games for the Chiefs, McKinnon played at least 70% of the snaps every single game. This doesn't feel like the time where they're going to trust a rookie running back when they've got somebody like McKinnon, a veteran who they've won with before.
Who does not fumble. Pacheco fumbles. We know that. And he's fumbled, and Andy Reid has set his butt on the bench for 2-3 quarters at a time and then randomly throws him back out there. It's crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. All right. Game number 2, and I cannot wait for this one. I know Proppy cannot wait for his Philadelphia Eagles to host the New York Giants on Saturday night. We'll have a very special pregame show at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, me and the entire crew. Now, the Eagles are laying 7.5. That hook just kind of like a blinking red light. The total 48. Proppy, this is your team, and it doesn't surprise me. Coming out of the lab, you're fading somebody. Who is it?
Yeah, I'm fading the Giants MVP, Daniel Jones, under 221.5 passing yards. Listen, Daniel Jones has only thrown for over 230 passing yards in 2 games in the regular season. That came against the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions, 2 of the worst secondaries in the NFL. What does Daniel Jones do last week? He absolutely torches the Vikings defense. I honestly think any quarterback would have had that much success, or any starting viable quarterback would have had a lot of success attacking that Viking secondary through the air. As a result of that big game last week, we're getting a really inflated line here. He only averaged 200 passing yards per game in the regular season. Now he's facing an Eagles secondary that's first in passing DVOA, first in EPA allowed per dropback, arguably the best secondary in the NFL. They gave up the fewest passing yards in the NFL this season, which was all the more impressive considering they were playing most of the season with a big lead. Hence, teams were throwing a lot against the Eagles, trying to play catch-up. So this secondary is very good. When these two teams met in the regular season, Daniel Jones threw for 169 yards in that game. So I think we're getting a big, big number here. It's a great spot to fade Daniel Jones, in my opinion. I also think the Giants are going to run the football a lot more this week than they did last week. Philly has been a run funnel all season long, so I love taking Daniel Jones under 221.5 passing yards. I'd play it down to 212 yards.
All right, very, very good. I am actually looking at his rushing total. I'm not going to be left out of the cashing his running ticket, even if they get smashed tomorrow. He's going to be running the ball. We know that. Now, Uncle Dave, I'm coming to you because already earlier on the early edge this week, try saying that twice, we have Dallas Goedert and his yards over. You like him in a different way. You're up.
I like it with the receptions, Coach. Over 4.5 catches at -109. It's watered down juice. It makes me like that a little bit better than the yardage. And think back to their gotta have it game in Week 18 against these Giants. In Hurts' first game back, this dude had 6 grabs, including 3 in the first quarter, 5 2 plays into the second half. And he's had 5 or more grabs in 6 of 11 games. That's okay. Those are games that he's played at least 70% of the snaps in. I wish I were a little bit higher. I wish I was a little bit thinner. I'll take it and deal with the results. The Giants have been good at limiting tight ends all season long, but not in their last 4 games. 2 against Minnesota, obviously the 1 game against Philadelphia. A tight end had at least 6 catches in every single one of those games. There's a leak here. Offenses are noticing. They're taking advantage. But here's the thing that I like best about Goddard. He's one of Jalen Hurts' most reliable targets. And in a game where there might be some issue with Jalen Hurts' shoulder and maybe some concern about Hurts running as much as we're used to seeing, Goddard figures to be involved. I bet he's an important part of the game plan. I could see him getting involved early on and then on third downs in the second half to keep the chains moving. So I think he has a good game and he catches at least 5 passes.
So if we all agree that the game plan will be they throw and try to protect Jalen Hurts just a little bit. Sia, let me throw this number out at you. 247.5 -114 for Jalen Hurts through the air. What do you think his game script will be? Could be a little rusty in my opinion.
Oh, I totally agree with you. I actually like the under there. And speaking of unders, if you're a SportsLine member, you have seen a play that I made on SportsLine a couple of days ago relating to the total or the spread here. So something to consider. I just think he's going to be a little bit rusty, and I think Miles Sanders might get some work. You might even see Boston Scott worked in there or Kenneth Gainwell. But, Jalen Hurts could still have a good game and throw for 225 yards. And I think this is going to be a slow down affair, especially on the Giants side, where they're milking clock enough to perhaps limit possessions here and there towards the stretch run.
Did you say here and there? Did you say here and
like the here and there, the here and there parlay?
Very similar. Very similar. Dave doesn't even know what the here or there parlay is. You don't know what that is, Dave?
Nope.
It's probably better that you don't. It's probably better that you don't. You go down a whole rabbit hole, and you're way above that. You don't do that in the Hall of Fame. We do it down here with the old regular people and buckets. Oh, buckets, buckets, buckets. All right, that is game number 2 for this weekend. Now, I got to tell you that one of the games that I think could be the game of the weekend will be on our parent station, our parent network. It's the Bengals. It's the Bills live on CBS.
Sunday. The page is turning. Can you feel this energy? Joe Burrow and the Bengals take on Josh Allen's Bills. A trip to the AFC Championship is on the line.
There is a whole lot going on with this game. You start with Damar Hamlin. He's been at the facility every single day this week. You've got the Bengals. They're ticked off that they have to go to Buffalo and play because they believe they would have won the game a couple of weeks ago. Throw all of that out. They're playing this game. And the Bengals, let's remember a year ago, they went on the road. They got it done and made it to the Super Bowl. So here's what the numbers say. Bills laying 5.5, total sitting at 49. This game kicks at 3 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. So, Dave, let's start with you. You like something on the Cincinnati side of things.
What an exciting offense they've got in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, and Tyler Boyd. And knucklehead me is going with Tyler Boyd. I think there's room for it to be successful. It's over 3.5 receptions at -115. Check this out. He's played 11 games with Jamar and T this year when both of them have played at least 11 snaps. So he's the third receiver here, but he plays a lot with them. And in those 11 games, he's had at least 4 catches in 7 of them. He's involved in the offense, and he's always in single coverage because why would they double team Tyler Boyd when you've got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins out there? And he's going to be a necessary option for Joe Burrow in this game. You might have heard about that offensive line and the issues that the Bengals are going to have coming into this game. 4 weeks ago, that offensive line was fine. In this game, 3 starters missing from it. I think that's a problem. Boyd's got a short A-dot, and his role as a slot receiver keeps him relevant to get those short outlet passes from Joe Burrow. Buffalo's allowed a 68.3% catch rate to slot receivers in their past 5 games compared to 53.2% to outside receivers. The Bills will bend. They will not break. I think the Bengals are also going to have a hard time running the ball effectively. Burrow's going to need to get rid of the ball quickly. That's where Boyd comes in. 4 to 5 catches for Tyler Boyd against Buffalo.
A lot of great information there. A lot of great information. But if he's going to catch 4 balls, then he's going to need his quarterback to throw a lot and to throw for a lot of yards and feed all those mouths that we talk about. Sia, do you think that he will?
I do, and mostly for the reasons that Dave just articulated. I like the Boyd play. I mean, I'm favorable to Hayden Hurst and Jamar Chase receptions and even T. Higgins because the run game is going to be non-existent, like Dave said, and the pass rush is going to get there for a couple reasons. One is because the Buffalo is pretty good at rushing the passer, and the other is because of those offensive line issues. So again, like Dave said, Joe Burrow is going to need to get the ball out quick. What does that lead to? It leads to more, I would say, more safe passes and lower ADOTs too. Let's say Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Hayden Hurst, you name it. I think this is kind of one of those plays where I wish it was 24.5, but I understand the 25.5. Let's have some perspective here over the last 4 games. The last 2 games that the Bengals have played were against the Ravens. And you'd think, okay, well, the Ravens milked a lot of clock. There were a lot of long drives. He probably didn't come close to this number. Well, over those 2 games, he averaged 24 completions. The 2 games prior, he had 40 and 27 completions. This is just kind of the road the Bengals are going to have to go down in terms of passing the ball constantly because they can't run it and because of the offensive line issues. So I really like Burrow's pass completions over 25.5. And on the other side of the ball, I've got Gabe Davis under 58.5 receiving yards. This is minus 115 pretty much everywhere. For the record, I'm kind of leaning towards his under in receptions too. That's at plus money. You can get that at like plus 15, plus 120. Full disclosure, in our FFT DFS show, Mike McClure is in the chat. He likes Gabe Davis this week. He likes Josh Allen as well. So there are some differing opinions here from smart minds, but this is an inflated number. 58.5 receiving yards is an inflated number, and you're paying the premium because of what Gabe Davis did last week and what we consider him to be in the playoffs, like playoff Gabe Davis. I just don't think I want to pay the premium on this number. Over the 18 games that he's played this season, that includes last playoff game, he's hit this number 6 times. And don't forget, they have a healthy receiver corps. It's not just Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. Now John Brown and Cole Beasley are in the mix. Isaiah McKenzie had full practices. He's going to play. You got Dawson Knox, Devin Singletary catch some passes too. So I just think there's too much to go around. So I like Gabe Davis's under 58.5 receiving yards. And for the record, I also like his under when it comes to the receptions of 3.5.
All right. So a little extra lean right there. Yes, Dave, go.
How many times this year has Gabe Davis finished between 40 and 69 receiving yards in a game?
40 and 69 this year?
This year.
I have a
like
guess.
17 games.
17 games. He's got at least 40. Oh, you're saying
No,
out of 17
between
games. Sorry,
40
sorry.
and 69, not 40 plus. So over 40, under 70.
8.
3. They could have set this number at almost anything. If you think Gabe Davis is going to have a big game and pop off for a big play, you take the over. If you're looking at it like Sia, you take the under.
That was a Hall of Fame take.
It was Hall of Fame
take. It was. Yes, Sia.
And can I just say that's part of the reason I like the receptions number. I will say that his ADOT isn't as long as people think. Of course, he's going to run the deeper routes, but there's other guys that they have do that as well. So he will work some of the short area. But the reason I like that receptions prop as well is because he can hit that long bomb for 40 or 50 yards and then catch, 1 or 2 12, 20 yarders and accumulate 80 yards, but still fall under the 3.5. That's why at the plus money, I'm really surprised it's plus money, to be honest with you.
Great information. I just like to stand back and just watch him go. Just watch him go. Now, if Gabe Davis were fading him, there's a reason we're fading him. Proppy, I'm coming to you because last week we saw it, and I think we're going to see it again this week. All of those games of one player barking in the ear of Josh Allen, and all of a sudden get to the playoffs, and who's he looking for more than anybody? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Give him to me, big boy. Let's go.
We're going Stephon Diggs, coach, over 6.5 receptions. Sia just mentioned plus money as well. You can find this prop between plus 110 and plus 120, which is absolutely nuts to me. Stephon Diggs, 2 consecutive games with 7+ receptions, 8 games overall this season. Those previous 2 games were games where Buffalo really wasn't even airing the ball out as much as they're going to in this matchup, in my opinion. This game is going to feature a ton of passing volume against the Bengals, two of the most pass-happy offenses in the NFL. I think we're going to see both teams air it out a bunch. I think Stephon Diggs could have 15 to 18, even 20 plus targets in this matchup. Wouldn't surprise me whatsoever to see Diggs land in the double-digit receptions overall. The fact that you can get this at plus money is such a value to me. Love Stephon Diggs over 6.5 receptions. I'd play this probably to minus 120, minus 125, and Josh Allen's going to lean very heavily on his alpha number one wide receiver in this matchup. Then on the other side of things, I am fading Samaje Perine under 28.5 combined rushing and receiving yards. He had 3 yards last week and only 2 touches. So he is being not really utilized, not very much involved in this Bengals offense. He's been held under this total in 5 consecutive games. The last times he had over 29 combined rushing and receiving yards was back when Joe Mixon was injured and Perine was operating as their primary running back, which is obviously not going to be the case. Also, the Bengals just aren't really running the football much at all. If he gets this will be through the air. The Bills happen to be very stingy at defending opposing running backs out of the backfield. We also see Mixon catch a lot of passes back there as well. So I just think this is a big number sort of out of nowhere for Perine. Doesn't really deserve to be this high, especially in the playoffs. Love fading Samaje Perine under 28.5 combined rushing and receiving yards. I'd play it down to 26.5.
Javon Jones says, I'm glad I grabbed the lines on Monday. They have gone up. That's the thing about the playoffs, everybody, that the props come out way earlier. People can bet them way earlier. We've been talking about them all week. But I'm telling you, these numbers, they're still accurate and they're still good, and you've got to get them in. You can't wait till right before the game. You just can't, because they'll be spot on. It's amazing how spot on they truly are. Now, what is this? 20 weeks, year number 2. I would say that our props extravaganza has become quite the tradition for many people on Fridays during the NFL week, but it is not a tradition unlike any other. That comes up in 2 months.
Down this lane is a path to history. Yes, sir! It leads to a tradition unlike any other, the Masters on CBS.
That was just a next level segue. I just got to give myself a pat on the back. It's just a next level segue. By the way, this is the last year. I've always said this. People ask me in interviews all the time, who has the best job in sports? I've always said Jim Nantz, because he gets to call NFL, NCAA tournament, and the Masters. Even wrote a book about doing it all in 60 days one year. Can you imagine calling those 3 things in 60 days? Or at all? Even one of them at all. At all I would take. So this will be his last NCAA tournament. He wants to call the Masters until he's 86 years old. No, 76 years old. That'd be 50 Masters for him. Amazing. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. And now we've come down to what I believe will be the game of the weekend. And I don't want to talk about this team's had 2 extra. I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about the game. Cowboys traveling once again. Second week in a row. They go to Florida last week. Now they're going to the West Coast to take on the 49ers and the Fighting Brock Purdy's. The number continues to go up. 49ers -4 now. Total 46.5. And Dave, if the Cowboys are going to win, they're going to have to do it, I believe, through the air. Do you agree?
Of course I do, Coach. You wouldn't have asked me that if I didn't agree. And I think they're going to have to do this even if they lose the game, by the way. It's over 34.5 pass attempts for Dak Prescott at -113. He's gone over this each of his past 3 games, including, let me know if this sounds familiar, a road playoff game versus an opponent with a strong run defense. Think he had that last week. I think he's going to have that again this week. It's the exact same scenario, and he threw 37 passes last week in a game he may not have even needed to. He just did. Quarterbacks have averaged 34.8 pass attempts per game against San Francisco this year, but it includes 2 games from earlier this season, one in a rainstorm against Chicago, and another one against Atlanta, where the Falcons actually did well without throwing the ball because the 49ers defense was beat up. You just go from their last 12 games, and that average, it's 36.8 pass attempts per game. Teams are throwing it against San Francisco, and they should, because their run defense, awesome. Their pass defense, it's been susceptible lately Geno Smith gave an example of that just last week. I think Dak is going to get relied on again. This is my favorite prop of the week. Cowboys quarterback, Dak Prescott, over 34.5 pass attempts, -113.
I love it. I love it when our picks come together. Synergy, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely love it. So if you're going to throw it 35 times in a game and you're going to be successful, then what comes with that? Counselor?
It's almost like Dave and I were like next to each other when we were working on these props, because and obviously we weren't, but this is pretty amazing because I'm going to work off Dave's argument again. I like Dak Prescott over 250.5 passing yards. This was a site play that I put up 2 days ago, actually. It's gone up in almost every market to like 253.5, 255.5. I would still take it at 253.5. I think beyond that, you're getting into like a little bit of dicey territory. But again, the 49ers, the one that they're very good against the run. The one thing you can do against them, and this was, it's a small sample size here, but this was proven by Jared Stidham just a few weeks ago, who passed for over 300 yards against them somehow. But they are exposable in the secondary, and that has to be the game plan for Dak Prescott. What I really like from the Cowboys is I thought they showed a little bit of moxie, the coaches in particular, in terms of being aggressive last week early against the Buccaneers. And I think they know they can't let the game come to them. They have to bring the game to the opponent. So I think Dak's going to be throwing even in a neutral game script, but this likely gets to a negative game script. And I really like where Dak is at. I mean, frankly, even if he has a bad game and throws a couple of picks, which he has been prone to do, well, that actually only helps Dave's pass attempt total and my yardage total. He's hit this yardage total in 8 of the last 10 games, and I don't expect it to be any different in this game against the 49ers.
Okay. Love both of those plays, but probably let me come to you, because we saw last week when the Maestro cashed Christian McCaffrey over 73.5 yards. He had that big 66-yard run in the first quarter. That helped a lot. But is this a defense after what we saw last week? And again, I know the Bucs were terrible, but is this a defense that McCaffrey and or Debo can get off?
Yeah, they are actually. The Cowboys are one of the biggest run funnels in the NFL this season. The teams that have the most success against Dallas all year have been able to run the ball against them effectively. I actually like Christian McCaffrey over 65.5 rushing yards quite a bit. I think he's going to be heavily featured. I could see him landing on more than 14 rushing attempts that he had last week, particularly in this matchup against Dallas. Very good chance I have a prop on him on our Sunday night stream as well, Coach.
Little tease. By the way, he already teased about his article. You can get it the second it comes out. Turn on your notifications within SportsLine if you're a member. Every time Alex does something, ding, go Alex.
I also have a second article coming out tomorrow with props from the Sunday games.
What?
Stop it.
It's for the people.
Stop it.
Can't help myself.
It's for the people. It is for the people. Oh, I love it. But if you're not a SportsLine member, I'm not going to do you a solid this time. You got to make it happen for yourself. I can only lead you to the water. I can't help you drink. Now, a few more questions before we get the hell out of here. Let me come back to you, Dave, because we have seen when the Cowboys are electric and Dak is playing great, there's one man who always seems to be in the mix, and that number is 88, I think. Do you like CD Lamb this week?
Yeah, his number is definitely 88. The star receivers in Dallas typically wear number 88. And yes, I like him, but not enough to make him one of my favorite picks of the week.
Really? Why not? Why not?
Because I like the Dak Prescott pick better, and I like the other picks better. But it was close. It's up there.
Okay. Robert's asking, how do you turn them on for specific experts, Coach? That's a very good question. And I wish AB was here right now, but he's not. Robert, I promise you we will give you a tweet or something on the next show. But we'll get you. We'll get you. All right? Because AB is our guy for that. All right. Does anybody have anything else from this game they'd like to address? Yes, Sia.
The one thing about CeeDee Lamb is his yardage prop is pretty high at this point. So, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't bet it, but it's too high for me to bet. But you can get exposure to him in the DFS market. I do want to give a shout out to Mike McClure, who, again, is in the chat. Number Edge is his chat name. And we did that FFT DFS show, which will be, it's in your feed right now if you want to listen to it. I like CeeDee Lamb in DFS quite a bit. And I think Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey are obviously in play. Deebo Samuel is only 5,900. So there's some value there in spite of the fact that the volume might be a little lower than you want. He's super efficient. You could run a stack with in another game, and you could have Deebo, McCaffrey, and CeeDee Lamb in your lineup. You could even do Deebo and McCaffrey with Brock Purdy if that's what you want to do. And what you're hoping for there is the short area passing game, and the yak after the catch gets you home on that one. But listen to that podcast because there's a lot of information. If you don't want to get exposure to CeeDee Lamb in the betting market, well, DFS. Have at it.
There you go. You can do it both different ways. By the way, Mikey took care of that question. Apparently, it's only for the picks. It keeps changing because with props and everything. That's why I just try to run the show. That's all I try to do. So many things behind the scenes. Mikey, thank you for handling that for us as well. All right, gentlemen, it is that time of the show. 15 seconds or less. Let's rip through all of our best bets. Give everybody a chance to see them one more time. Proppy, start us off. What do you like this week?
Yeah, we've got Samaje Perine under 28.5 combined rushing and receiving yards. He only had 2 rushing attempts last week, 1 target, ended up with 3 yards, really not being utilized by the Bengals, who don't run the football whatsoever, and the Bills are really good at covering running backs out of the backfield. Love fading him here. Then we've got Isaiah Pacheco under 12.5 rushing attempts. He failed to eclipse double-digit carries in the last 2 games for the Chiefs. I think it's going to be the Jerick McKinnon show. Then we've got Daniel Jones under 221.5 passing yards. Eagles are the number 1 secondary in the league, according to EPA, according to DVOA. Daniel Jones averaged just 200 passing yards per game in the regular season. This line is inflated, in my opinion. Great spot to fade him. Then we've got Stephon Diggs over 6.5 receptions. Love that you can find this at plus 120 against the Bengals. The Bills are going to air the ball out a ton, and I think Josh Allen's going to lean heavily on Diggs in this game.
No doubt about it. Counselor, go.
Isaiah Pacheco, longest rush under 13.5 yards. This is a corollary with PropStarz play because I just don't think the volume is going to be there for him to get this total. Gabe Davis under 58.5 receiving yards. If you're taking the over here, you're taking the markup. And I want to take discounts, not markups. I'll take the under there. Trevor Lawrence over 1.5 touchdown passes. They're going to need to score points. And even if he has 1 touchdown pass in the middle of the fourth quarter, I expect a garbage time touchdown to get him over the top. Joe Burrow over 25.5 completions. That short area passing game is going to be critical for Joe Burrow. I see him getting over that total. And then finally, Dak Prescott over 250.5 passing yards. I think Dak has to take his arm and the game to the San Francisco 49ers secondary. I expect him to do that for all 4 quarters.
Beautiful. HOF, bring us home.
Did I mention that Jacksonville is top 10 in yards per catch and yards after catch per reception allowed to wide receivers with a 59.7% catch rate allowed to wideouts? That's 6th best. That's on the season. Juju's not going to have a great game, so I'm going to fade his longest reception under 20.5 yards. Dallas Goedert, the security blankie for Jalen Hurts. His first game back, really with his shoulder okay. I don't think it was really that okay in his first game against the Giants. It should be better in this one. Giants have been terrible against tight ends lately. Tyler Boyd, the short area target for Joe Burrow. Look for him to catch 4 to 5 passes. Dak Prescott, going to throw all over the place. 34.5 pass attempts. That's in the bag against San Francisco. And Zay Jones, same game as Juju. Juju down, Zay up over 52.5 receiving yards as a short to mid-range target for Trevor Lawrence.
Absolutely beautiful from top to bottom. Now, you guys know we end this show every single week, giving respect to others, or at least to one other. So I asked my guys, what's the number 1 favorite prop from somebody else on the show? Dave, let's start with you.
I obviously like the Dak Prescott over yardage prop that I believe it was Sia.
Yes.
Who gave that one. So that's going to be the one that I'll get behind and tail myself.
All right, Proppy.
Toss up between Uncle Dave's Tyler Boyd prop and Trevor Lawrence over 1.5 touchdown passes. Like those both quite a bit, considering Trevor Lawrence prop is in my article. Going to have to go with that one.
Everybody's complaining because I had no idea the article came out. Oh, I can't. Come on, people. It's every week. Come on. All right, Sia, what do you like?
Yeah, it's close to a tie between Zay Jones and Isaiah Pacheco. That's one from each of them. But I'm going to go with Zay Jones over 52.5 receiving yards.
One last shot across the bow. One last shot across the bow.
So I'm wearing Chiefs colors.
Sort
That's
of.
something.
Like their extreme jerseys, maybe. Now, Billy in the chat says, my guy always increases yard totals from whatever DraftKings has their line at. Is there I'm just going to stop there. Billy, in 2023, you should not be betting with a guy, okay? That's the problem. It's not the yardage total. You don't need to bet with a guy who has a website. He's going to skew all the numbers to his favor. Don't do it.
Unless you can exploit them, Coach.
Play more unders.
Interesting thought, Billy. Play more unders. See, even my guys, they have advice for you. Stick with mine. Don't play with a guy. All right. What another great show. Do we have a show next week with just 2 games? I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. But I do know this, that we're here every single day at 10 a.m. We have not missed a day since December 7th of 2020, and we're not about to do it anytime soon. So with that being said, there's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these prop tickets straight to the pay window for my entire crew. Love them all. The counselor, Proppy, 3 times. And Uncle Dave, our resident Hall of Famer. I am simply the coach, just trying to drive the ship. It doesn't matter the day, the time, the week, if it's props, if it's best bets. It doesn't matter. It's only right here on the Early Edge. Good luck.